All right, let's get it going right here, right now. This is Eyes Up Here, and you're listening and watching parts of this Eyes Up Here on our YouTube channel and listening to us on the Creative Control Podcast Network. If you didn't know by now, my name is Chad, and every single week I'm joined here in the Eyes Up Here recording studio by Queen of Extreme, Francine. I think this recording studio is located in the bottom level of the Queen Castle, so that's where our double secret location is currently. We've got a lot to talk about today. It's been a couple of weeks. We went on a little hiatus of our recording schedule, but I'm prepared to turn the floor over to you because you have had a just absolutely very, very sad couple of weeks. So I feel for you. My thoughts have been with you. We've talked a lot via text, but how are you doing now that I get to see you in person?
I'm tired. Like the first word that comes to my mind is just being tired. Just emotionally, physically, like mentally, I'm exhausted. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, my mom, my mom passed away last Friday, August 18th. So, 2 weeks prior to that, she had been going downhill. And those who listen to this show or follow me on social media, you guys know my journey, my family's journey with my mom. When my dad and my sister had passed away, they died 4 days apart from each other. When my dad was on his deathbed, he had asked me to take care of my mother. And I said I would. And I just got married. My husband and I never had that honeymoon period where you can just be alone and enjoy each other and stuff like that. We took my mom in because she was alone. And, she was the type of person that didn't drive. She didn't pay the bills. Like my dad did everything. So, I felt like she was kind of lost and I didn't want her to be by herself. So we took her in, and God bless my husband for doing it, because who wants to live with their mother-in-law right after they get married? He's a special breed. And that's part of the reason why I love him so much. But, that was 14 years ago. And I would say the last year is when she really started to decline. And we noticed that she wasn't walking anymore. She was losing her eyesight. She couldn't hear very well. I had her on a baby monitor so I can see her because, she couldn't walk to the bathroom anymore. I had a commode in her room, so I would have to run up there and help her go to the bathroom. We had bought her a recliner, an automatic recliner with the button that helps you get up and down, because she was having trouble like getting up off of the chair to go to the bathroom, stuff like that. So the last year was really, really bad. And then I started noticing her appetite was declining. And I would get so frustrated. Any caregivers out there, you know what I'm talking about. I would get so frustrated. She would ask me for these foods, and I would go to the supermarket and I would buy the stuff that she wanted and I would cook it. And then she would eat like 1 or 2 bites and she would say, it won't go down. I can't eat. I'm not hungry. And at the time, I'd get so frustrated with her because I'm making I'm making food for her. I'm making food for my kids, for myself. My husband takes care of him because, he's a carnivore and he just eats meat.
Just find something in the backyard to jump on, and then
just
drags it back.
There's 42 steaks in my freezer. Just go get a steak and he's good to go. But it was frustrating. But in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe if I make her this, she'll eat more. And she never did. And it just started declining. So I had a talk with her lung doctor and he had mentioned failing to thrive. And that's what happens when they stop walking. Their appetite decreases. I know she was dehydrated. She barely drank anything. And she was just getting weaker and weaker. I could tell, like, when I would touch her arm, all you would feel was bone. She had no muscle mass left. And it was depressing. It was really hard to watch her decline like this. And for the longest time, it was just us for the 14 years. It was me, my husband, and my kids. We didn't have any outside help, and it was just us. No one helped us. So we didn't really go anywhere. We went to Disney because we were able to take her to my sister's house for those 2 weeks. But that was it. That was, we couldn't even, the last year, we couldn't even really go to dinner and sit down because we couldn't leave her alone. So we were kind of like prisoners in our own home, so to speak. I was just afraid something would happen to her if we would leave her alone. And so we didn't. She kept declining. And then at one point she was barely eating. And so when they said failing to thrive, they had mentioned hospice. And he said with hospice, it doesn't mean in 6 months she will actually, pass away for sure. Every 6 months, the doctor can, renew the prescription for hospice. It's just to get some help in. She had bed sore that I was taking care of, that he was just like, you shouldn't be doing all this. You need help at this point. So 2 weeks before she passed, I called hospice and I found this place, and I got the best nurse. A doll. She had such a bedside manner with my mother, and treated my mom great, treated my family great. And this is such a cute story. When my mom was still coherent and could talk, she said to me, "Do you think that you'll be friends with the nurse?" Her name is Lex. "You think you guys would be friends after I pass?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know, Mom." I said, "Maybe. We'll see what happens." And so for the 2 weeks, she came and she cared for her. And I would say the 2 days before she died, the whole family came over. She got to see all her grandkids, which she was still sitting up and talking. The day after that, you couldn't understand her anymore. Her voice was very faint. It took effort for her to talk. And something told me that she was going to pass by the next day. I had the monitor on. I ran in there every time I heard her, I would run in the room, because they tell you, like, there's morphine to keep them comfortable. Thank God my mom wasn't in pain the whole time. There was no pain that we could tell. The only thing that she would do was cough. And when she would cough, they told me to give her, it was a very low dose of morphine. And I hated giving it to her, but it did help her. It opens up the lungs, made her breathe easier. She was on oxygen, so she was having trouble breathing anyway. So I think the whole 2 weeks, I think I might have gave it to her 4 or 5 times at the most, and at a very low dose. But there was no pain. The morning that she did pass, I woke up at 5 and I looked at the monitor, and I noticed her hands were hanging off the side of the bed, and I knew she was gone. I didn't have it in me to go into the room at that point because everybody was asleep, and I didn't want to start, crying. So I forced myself to stay in bed. I just watched the monitor. I was hoping she would move, and she didn't. She had passed. She died in her sleep, which I prayed so hard for because I didn't want her to suffer, obviously. But when the nurse came, going back to the cute story, she said, you were my favorite family. In the short time that I've known you guys, you were just my favorites. And she said, maybe after this is all over, you and I can do lunch or dinner. And I looked at her and I said, oh my God, my mom asked me if you and I were going to be friends. And now you're asking me if you want to, to keep in touch. So in a way, like, my mom brought me a new friend out of this whole thing. And we've been in touch, it's been a week now that she's passed, but we've been texting, and she's such a wonderful person. And it's weird, but my mom made me make a friend, because it just brought a smile to my face the way she said that. Oh, she's so nice. Maybe you guys will be friends. Because even though we've lived here forever, this area, there's all old people. I don't really have a lot of friends near me. So having somebody close would be so nice. And I feel like, in a way, my mom brought her and I together, and hopefully it'll be a good friendship out of it. But I'm just right now I'm dealing with guilt, and the guilt is I'm looking back. Number one, because we didn't know she was going to pass so soon, right? You put them in hospice, and they have a thing where after the first 90 days, the caregivers get a break, and they take them for 5 nights, and they look after them in the facility for no charge. Medicare covers it, and the caregivers get to do something. So we were like, 90 days. So we can go in November, and we can take the kids maybe somewhere. I don't know, because we haven't been anywhere in a really long time. We were looking ahead of time. We had no idea it was going to be this soon. And she wasn't that bad. It was like a light switch, boom, and she just went downhill really quickly. So when we called hospice, it wasn't like she was going to die. We didn't think she was going to die that soon. We thought she had some life in her. She was still on the chair. She was still watching her TV. It was just when hospice came, they were like, get her a hospital bed. So we broke down the furniture. We had a hospital bed installed. And it was quick. I had no idea in 2 weeks' time she would be gone. And she went from talking to the nurses to having life in her to just nothing. And it was, so the guilt that I feel, because she would always say to me, I'm not going to be here forever. I'm like, oh, you're probably going to be here another 5 years. Stop it. You know what I mean? You feel frustration. Like I said, when they don't eat, I felt like, I feel bad because I can't take my kids anywhere. And my kids are so good and patient, and they understood, for being so young, they still understood, we'll have our time eventually. This is now, we have to take care of mom. You know what I mean? And they were so good about everything. And I'm just going through guilt because I miss her terribly now. But when she was alive, I'm sitting here thinking, man, I wish we could do this, and I wish we could do that. And now she's not here anymore. And the guilt, it's just it's overwhelming. And everybody tells me I shouldn't feel that way because, I did take care of her, and I didn't put her in a home, and I did everything I could for her. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud that we did that. But I still think about all the thoughts that I had in my head. I never wanted her to pass, don't get me wrong. But I used to think man, I wish we could just pick up and go somewhere. Which everybody's telling me, you're human, you're normal. You think you're the only one that ever thought that? Probably not, but I still feel guilty about it, especially now since she's gone, and I was cleaning out her room. It's just, it's so overwhelming. I've lived with her almost 50 years of my life, besides 1 year when I first got married. I lived in an apartment with my husband before we bought our house, and she was still with my dad. And then she was alone, I think, for not even 6 months or something. And then that's when we took her. So for almost 50 years of my life, I've been with her, and we had such a bond. It's just so hard to have her not be here. And I still look for the monitor. I still hear her call my name. I can hear her in my head calling my name. Um, I still want to go check on her to make sure she's okay. And there's just no one in the room. It's just so empty. The silence is deafening in my house. It's like my husband said, it's going to be the new norm, and we have to get used to it. But my God, it's so hard to process. Her, just, she's always been here. So it's hard to have her not here. And I just feel so guilty.
She was here during recordings. We would hear her walker going across the floor, and you say, "Oh, excuse that. That's my mom going across the floor." So yeah. She made many appearances on the podcast. But you did such an amazing job of caregiving and getting to know that world a little bit professionally for a short time. I saw what professional caregivers can provide versus the actual caregivers, the family, and the way you dedicated so much of your life to her care is so admirable. And I'm not blowing smoke. This is legit. I mean, because I saw it, my family, it's odd, the trajectory of your mom and my grandma, how they were both 93 and they were both trudging along and living fine. And then poof, this year, I mean, they both got, actually within a month of each other. My grandma died in July. So, it's you just have done such an amazing job as a caregiver. You can feel all these emotions because of that time that you spent, but you were such a good daughter and a good soldier and a good child, and you did everything that honestly I could not have done a quarter or a smidgen of what you did for your mom over these years, especially the 14 years that she's lived with you.
Yeah, I mean, the whole 14 years wasn't bad. She was downstairs most of the time. She could walk the stairs. She was healthier. She helped me a lot with my kids. Like my kids, we called them a hold babies. Like they wouldn't go for a nap. She would hold them for 2 hours. They would nap on her as she watched her shows. And she loved my kids with all her heart. I mean, she was a wonderful woman. She was a wonderful mother. It's just my guilt. That's what I'm dealing with. Like, I feel bad thinking certain things. I never wished her harm. Never thought, oh my God, I wish she wasn't here. I just, my thing in my head was, man, I wish I had more help so I can do stuff with my kids, because I felt like my kids suffered, like everybody's going on vacation and they're going to the beach and they're going here and they're going there. And we never got to do that really because she wasn't healthy enough to be left alone. And so despite the Disney trip, which was wonderful and we loved it, for 50 weeks of the year, we were just here and couldn't really do anything for a very long time because we didn't have any help. We didn't have anybody come in. And I just would think to myself, I wish it was different. I wish she was healthy so we can do these things. And it's not like she was ever going to get better. It was mainly her heart that gave, because she was AFib. She had a triple bypass like 21 years ago. So it was her heart, but then she had lung and kidney problems as well. So she had a trifecta of bad luck going on with her. And to live till 93 is awesome. I mean, really, God bless her for doing that. But it's just, as sad as I am that she's not here, my guilt is just overwhelming. And that's something that I have to deal with, and time will help that, I'm sure. But like I looked it up, and I'm not the only one. There's a lot of daughters and sons that are thinking the same thing in their heads because they sacrificed so much to take care of their loved ones. And I'm not sorry that I did it, and I'd probably do it again if I had to, which thank God I do not. But the guilt is what I'm dealing with now. And some days I'm okay, and then some days I get sick to my stomach, because when she was on her deathbed and she could still hear me, all I kept saying to her is I was holding her hand, and I kept saying, I'm so sorry. I'm just sorry that if I said something or I did something. And she kept saying, stop, I'm so grateful to you. I love you. And that's all she kept saying to me. And I need to get over that, because I know we did all we could. I know it. It's just these thoughts in my head. I feel bad for thinking, I wish she was here. I wish I could hug her and tell her I love her again. And it's going to take a while. That's all, but God, she was a good woman. She was the best mom, and I'm going to miss her. So, but thank you to everyone who reached out, and sent prayers and well wishes. And she's just a huge part of our lives. And I know she's with my dad and my sister now. So she's not suffering, although I don't really think she was she wasn't in any pain, which was a blessing. So I deal with that. And she died on Friday. And what day was it? Was it Monday? My husband is like, I have a pain. I didn't sleep well. It was either Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember what day it was of this week. And he had to, for work, he had to go drive somewhere, pretty decent drive, And he said, I'm having a pain in my side. But he works out like religiously, and he thought maybe he pulled a muscle, something with his abs. He wasn't sure what was going on. So he makes the drive, and he's driving home, and he calls me and he says, it's a really bad pain. He said, I'm going to go to Med Express. So I'm like, okay. And as soon as he goes to the Med Express, the doctor sees him. He goes, you have to go to the ER. And he's like, okay. So he calls me and he says, I'm going to the ER, and he's updating me and blah, blah, blah. Well, here it's his appendix. And when they did the surgery, they go in and it's leaking all over the place. So thank God.
Unbelievable.
He went when he did, because he could have died if, that stuff is toxic. It's like poison. And he would have went septic, and it could have killed him. And God was watching it. I think my mom made him go to the Med Express in the ER. I swear she gave him a little nudge and said, get that taken care of, because honestly, after the week I've had, I really can't deal with much more right now. So he's been in the hospital all week. And I got over there twice this week to visit him and stuff. Hopefully he'll be home this weekend, but he's on an antibiotic, and they're draining all of the bad stuff out of him. And he's on an IV drip because he was dehydrated. And I mean, this is a guy who takes care of himself, works out almost every day, eats right. We take our supplements, all this stuff. And man, you got to listen to your body. Please, if something, even if you think, oh, it couldn't be, get it checked out and make sure you're okay, because God forbid, I don't know what I would have did. Honestly, my nerves were so bad this week. I'm like, if I didn't have my kids, I would be day drinking every single day. Every single day I'd be day drinking, because it's been a lot, but I have good friends who have been, talking me through it. And you're one of them. So thank you. I'm just tired. I'm tired, and I have to learn how to live with a family of 4 instead of a family of 5. And we'll get used to it. And we wanted to take the kids. We were going to, just to get out of the house, we were going to take the kids, to the beach next week. And now we had to cancel that because Hubs is not doing well. So we'll get our time eventually. But right now we're just going through the motions.
Man, I mean, anything else? That was quite 2 weeks.
It's only Friday. Who knows?
I mean, my goodness gracious. Yeah, I mean, that was, I couldn't believe that when you told me that the other day. That was like, that was, and again, it's so smart to go to the Med Express because with the lifting and the stuff that he does, so very easily. I mean, I've been dealing with a neck pain, right, for like 3 weeks. I haven't gotten it checked out. But what if it's like some crazy, ridiculous thing connected in my neck that's causing this problem? He got it checked out. I mean, he could have just easily pulled something as far as he knew in his side. That is just the timing and everything just worked out perfectly. That's the divine intervention right there.
That's my mom. I'm convinced that's my mother.
Yeah, she kicked him in the ass. She's like, go to the damn doctor.
Go to the doctor and see what's going on. So I booked for myself. I scheduled an appointment with my primary, and I'm going to get everything done. I have to get that upper and lower, what's that called? When they stick the tube down your throat and up your butt. And I forget I don't know. When you're 50, you're supposed to get your first one.
Colonoscopy?
I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm scheduling an upper and lower. They can do it at the same time.
Broadcasting live for the podcast, perhaps?
Should I live stream when I get
right on your face when they put the thing in? You go,
oh Jesus. I'm getting that. I'm getting blood work done to check everything's good. Then I have to go to the gynecologist, going to get my hoo-ha checked, going to go get my boobies checked for a mammogram, and then the dentist, and then I should be up to date for the year.
All right.
I'm getting it all done, man. You got to take care of yourself, and I got little ones to look after. So, we gotta get it done. But man,
get it done. What a couple of weeks.
So
I missed you though. I've been sitting here waiting for you. I felt terrible. There's nothing I could do. I was paralyzed.
Last week, I couldn't muster it. It was too much. I was just sitting. I got about 70. I'd say 70% of her room done. I cleared out every drawer, every inch of her closet. I donated over, I think it was like 5 bags to Purple Heart. Yeah. And her old suitcases, because they were old. She still used them, God bless her. But we weren't going to use them.
Were they like the hard plastic one, or the hard plastic? You know what I mean? Like those hard big ones, like that with the big handle on the side. Like,
yeah, they had a handle, and this the old fashioned, like it looked like leather, but I don't know if it was leather.
I know exactly the ones you're talking about because we're pulling them out of my grandma's house.
Yeah, she still used it when she went away. So I donated. I said, well, if they don't want it, they could just throw it out. But man, she had like old clothes and old linens, and I got rid of a bunch. I said to myself, she was a hoarder, and not a hoarder of junk. She was a hoarder of, like, I found my dad's old credit cards.
Oh, wow.
That have been expired for years because my dad's been gone forever.
Right.
So there were papers. She kept papers from like the teens, like 2013. Like I was shredding papers, and the one suitcase was full of papers. And I said, what the hell is that? Like, I literally sat there, and at first I couldn't find the shredder. So I was ripping stuff up manually, and I probably didn't have to because they were so old. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, if somebody finds this and steals identity, or, if my name's on this, I want to get rid of everything, And good Lord, it took me forever to get rid of all these papers. And then like her drawers had every birthday, anniversary, greeting cards. Like she just kept everything. And you're looking through things, you're finding old pictures. It was just really emotional. And I had to stop myself. Like I literally 2 days ago, I said, okay, I need a break. I'm walking out. empty, but there's still little things here and there that I have to go in, and I have to wash down the furniture, but that's there. I have
Right.
plenty of time. I'm especially now with him in the hospital, I just needed a break, so I just trying to juggle stuff, and the kids are still doing work, so I'm still doing work with them, and ugh, it's just, it just never ends. I'm doing the best I can, so
Well, you did a great job.
thank
Of
you,
course,
thank you. And
thoughts
again,
are still with you.
I appreciate, yeah, my mom's always going to be with me, just like my dad and my sister. But I appreciate everybody reaching out, and shout out to caregivers, because God bless you all. It is such a tedious job, but it's done with love, and you'll realize after they pass just how special you guys are, and that you were to your loved ones. So I don't regret a day of it, and I just hope she knows how much I love her.